Hello everyone, I'm John and we are reading The Artist's Way for Parents and we are on page 164. An exercise, listening, using CDs, iTunes, the radio, or whatever other music listening device of your choice. Listen to several contrasting types of music with your child. With each one, ask what your child thinks and feels about the style. Offer any knowledge you have, and it does not have to be much. A quick Google search can tell you that Beethoven wrote his Ninth Symphony a very long time ago, when he was completely deaf. It can tell you that Alicia Keys studied classical piano before releasing her first R&B album. Songs in A minor, your lesson can be minimal. The idea here is to offer, without judgment, exposure to several styles and eras of music. Allow your child to enjoy whatever he or she enjoys. There is no wrong kind of music to like. Being an audience. We teach our children to cherish creativity by cherishing it ourselves. We teach our children to respect the creative act by respecting it ourselves. This means we model not only making art ourselves, but also appreciating the art made by others. We can start with the movies. There are many made for children's entertainment. We can attend with a child in tow, a big bag of popcorn to be shared, and in anticipation of quiet as we watch together. It won't be long before children learn that movies are quiet time, eyes forward on the screen. As we choose the movies with care, we get to know what interests our children and holds their attention. What interests our children and holds their attention. All children are different, and their actual proclivities may surprise us. If a film is too adult, children will grow restless or become scared. It's too kiddie, and children become annoyed by being talked down to. If we miss and must abort the mission and leave halfway through, it is not the end of the world. Our children are learning the art of discernment. I often tell the story of Dominica as a young child. I brought her to a movie that I thought might be a bit mature. She had seemed bored by more age-appropriate titles, so I decided to give this one a try. She sat silently beside me, not uttering a word through the entire movie. In her hand, her bag of M&Ms lay untouched. She was focused completely on the screen. As we left, I turned to her, seeking her thoughts on what we had seen. Had I taken her to something that might upset her? Was she a little too young for the story we had witnessed? When I asked for her opinion, she looked at me thoughtfully. "It was only okay," she said. "I really don't think they should have killed the husband off screen." I laughed and told her I agreed. I didn't tell her that most 7-year-olds might not have quite that type of observation. Perhaps it is the movie maker blood in her, the passion that she was born with, but whatever it was, I allowed it to be. We have gone to more movies together over the years, and I continually find her insights enlightening. Once our children have mastered the art of quiet movie-going, with silent observations and questions postponed until later, it can be thrilling to graduate to viewing live performance. Theater is expensive and expansive, but carefully chosen, the expenditure is more than repaid. The colorful spectacle and catchy songs of The Lion King make it a favorite choice of mine. The story is simple enough to follow, and the villains easy enough to hate. If Broadway is out of reach, and it is for many of us, the local papers feature suggestions for child-friendly shows. An expedition to see the Nutcracker or a visit to view Mary Poppins in a nearby city can be enhanced by careful preparation. Introducing the children at home to the characters they'll be meeting in the theater helps to guarantee their respectful interest. Likewise, it's a good idea to familiarize them with the music they'll be hearing. You can download the Broadway cast album from iTunes before seeing the live show. Whether it is a performance by a Broadway national tour or a local community theater. I grew up on the tunes of Rodgers and Hammerstein. Although I didn't see their shows until I was older, my mother was good at generating excitement. When Rodgers and Hammerstein crafted a television special of Cinderella, our mother made certain we were all glued to the set. My best friend, Linny Lane, was a glorious singer. Her mother provided her with the cast albums of all the Rodgers and Hammerstein shows. She in turn spread the word by singing them to me. I still remember the thrill of hearing her carol Climb Every Mountain. Listening to Linny, I learned to practice silence as golden. She trained me to be a good audience, a lesson I in turn would teach my daughter Domenica. We teach our children to be good audience members also by being an audience to them. When they present a story or work of art to us, our warm reception encourages them to continue to indulge their impulse to share. As we appreciate their efforts, they grow. As we sit back and enjoy the show without judgment or correction, with no threat of trying to improve on their natural impulses, they grow more. My performer friend Heather tells me the story of her early performances in her home. When I was 10, we had an addition put on the back of our house, which meant that there were construction men all over our home every day. Without fail and with no inhibitions, I would come home from school every single day, eat a snack, sit at the piano, and play and sing at the top of my lungs. I can only imagine what the construction workers thought. Probably that it was cute, hilarious, and annoying as hell. My mom, who was a stay-at-home mom, never once told me to stop or made me feel embarrassed. I had no knowledge that this didn't happen in every single house in our town. Being an audience, we receive what is given to us. As we receive graciously, our children follow suit, learning to receive graciously themselves and to give generously as well. An exercise. In the audience, allow your child to perform for you or gift you with an artistic pursuit. See if you can name a specific quality that you appreciated in what he or she did. The more specific you can be, the better. Now plan to take your child to be an audience member at a local event. It may be a high school or middle school concert, a gallery, a movie, a play. It doesn't matter what you choose. When you're done, ask your child to name something specific they enjoyed or appreciated, and allow yourself to be surprised and fascinated by your child's answer. Storytelling. We revisit our own stories as our children's stories are written. Sharing your favorite books or memories with them connects us to our past, present, and future. Our shared family history and culture are valuable pieces of identity for our children. And as we expose them to our backgrounds and their own, we give them a context and structure in which to expand their own identity. Our children are likely to make up make-believe stories. We can also encourage them to tell autobiographical stories, even if it's just relating a funny incident from their school day. The point is to encourage their storytelling, and we do this first by prompting them and then listening. We too can tell stories to our children and make up kind, and the made-up kind may be intimidating for some of us. The most important thing to remember when our children ask us to tell a story is that this story does not have to be good. We have to jump in anyway and try. Our children can help. We can ask what they think might happen next. We can use props, telling a story about their stuffed animals or toys. The point is that we set our own ego aside and be willing to begin. My friend and colleague Tyler has taught storytelling for many years. I think something becomes storytelling when there isn't a script, he tells me. There's something special about that in a time where text is everywhere, books, movies, YouTube. We have an obsession with making a permanent record of everything, and the magic of storytelling is that it isn't like that. It only exists for a moment between the teller and their audience. Much like live theater versus a movie, a story will be a little bit different every time. And there's always the possibility of the unexpected. With a live audience, whether the story is spontaneous or retelling of a classic, the experience for the audience and the teller is new each time the story is told. Storytelling is like a trip backward in time. Since the first humans sat around the fire, stories have been shared among people. Stories are passed on from one generation to the next, the thread of ancestry that connects us to our past and future. Children love to hear stories from their parents' childhood, or stories of their grandparents or great-grandparents' adventures. It's a primal urge, Tyler continues, because it's ultimately about safety. Every time, even if we went back to the days of cavemen, let's say you were a caveman and another caveman told you a story about berries he ate that made him feel sick, you probably wouldn't eat them. Telling stories creates safety in your tribe. In the tribe of our own family, storytelling works the same magic. Taking the time to talk and to listen binds us to each other. We may sit in the same room as someone else, both on laptops for hours. There's a certain company in that, but for the most part, our relationships are with our screens and not with one another. Storytelling is the opposite. It connects us as humans in the most ancient and basic way. Some of the best stories are just conversations, with one half telling and one half listening. Both partners are active. By sharing, we connect. By sharing, we define ourselves. Telling a story, we claim ownership over it, encouraging others to do the same. We encourage their growth and independence as they name themselves and their experience. Kira, an actress, loves to tell stories to her 3-year-old niece, Sandra, who absorbs the narratives with wonder. Kira has spent many years performing in children's theater as an improv comic, and her storytelling is something Sandra looks forward to on Kira's frequent visits. I'm educating her in classic stories now, Kira muses. That's my current project. She needs to know all of them. Telling the story of Peter Pan to Sandra one day, Kira acted out the different roles, and Sandra laughed hysterically at Kira's many voices and accents, explaining that fairy dust promises that Tinker Bell is nearby. Kira told Sandra to keep an eye out for Tinker Bell after she'd left. The next day, Kira got a call from Sandra's mother. I was serving breakfast to her this morning, and she kept pointing to a spot in the corner of the ceiling. I finally realized she was saying that Tinker Bell was nearby. When I looked at what she was pointing at, it was a little spot of light reaching through the blinds. I thought you should know. Tell her that was absolutely Tinker Bell, Kira said, laughing. Her stories have sparked Sandra's imagination, inspired to look for it. Sandra will continue to find magic throughout her world. We certainly don't have to be professional actors or improv comics to tell our children stories. Simply giving them the raw material, the idea is enough of a jumping off point to trigger their vast imaginations. I love fairy tales, says Lillian. I was obsessed with the Brothers Grimm and the old Disney movies as a child. And guess what? My daughter is going to be exposed to those things too. We'll see if she loves them as much as I do, but not knowing about them isn't an option. Lillian tells a story to her daughter every night before bed. Sometimes it is a known story, sometimes it's a made-up one. Inventing characters that my child might enjoy is fun for me too. And the more I tell stories, the more comfortable I get with telling stories. It gets easier. Whether I'm inventing a fairy tale or sharing an adventure of my own from when I was my daughter's age, the stories don't have to be perfect. Story time can double as lesson time. Your characters can live and learn just as your listening children can also learn. Often our children have stories to tell as well. Our job is simply to listen as our children continue the story that began long before us. An exercise, listening. Experiment with telling a story to your child. It can be about anything, long or short. If you can't think of a topic, ask your child for a prompt. Perhaps it is about the flower on the windowsill or a dog at your feet. Perhaps it is about the invented life of a neighbor across the street or the passerby in the grocery store. There is no wrong topic. When you are done, ask your child to tell you a story. Really listen to her. Did she have more to say than you might have guessed? Did you? All right, Chapter 8, Cultivating Focus. When we are When we are creatively active, we are in the moment. When we are in the moment, we are open and we are focused. There are many concrete steps we can take to improve our focus as well as our children's. With technology as near constant distraction, we must take even more care to nurture the important nutrients of our lives as well as our children's. Good nutrition, physical activity, restful sleep, and spiritual health. A sound body and sound mind lead to a sound focus. And learning this focus, our children are able, even likely, to create a sound body of creative work, play, and joy. The technology epidemic. There is no substitute for the human imagination. We can invent stories and playful plots, that is. We can if we are given the time and mental space to do so. Far too many households, however, are overcrowded with technological paraphernalia. From the radio to the TV to the iPhone, iPad, the computer, and every new incarnation of video game, our children are swamped with high-tech distractions. Timothy is addicted to video games. Their soundtrack is noisy and their plot's violent. He kills off his enemies with mind-numbing explosions. His sole goal is to win, losing himself in mortar and mayhem. Connie has a favorite DVD. She begs her mother to play it just one more time. It's not too severe to say that she's addicted. Her mother has misgivings, but she keeps them to herself. After all, she tells herself the DVD is educational. For many parents, the proliferation of gizmos means less time for meaningful interaction with their children. Glutted by technology, their offspring tune in and tune out. We live in a time of abundance and people want to have it all, says Christine Coe. It's not that parents are doing the wrong things or doing too much, it's that there's so much available that it can get overwhelming. In a digital age, having it all means many more things than it once did. It means contacting people instantly and expecting to hear back instantly. Communication is immediate, and the immediate gratification can be very addictive. We can DVR a show on TV and access it at any moment. We can download a book to an iPad without ever stepping outside, entering a library, or browsing a bookstore. While there is significant luxury in the technological advances being made, they can pose problems as well. No screens, in quotes, says a professor friend of mine. There has to be significant time each day where we are not looking at our phone or computer, the TV. Screens suck us in. We lose ourselves, and that's not good. He insists that his students take notes on paper, and at home he limits his children to 1 hour of screen time per day. If we can train ourselves to check our email at selected times as opposed to every time our phone makes a noise at us, we are setting a judicious example for our children. You're the most important thing right now. Our actions tell our children when we leave our phone behind to take a walk with them. I'm focusing on you. We show them that good manners around technology are not only possible but required. When our daughters are playing on a swing set and hoping to see how high they have managed to go, we miss something and withhold something from them if we are buried in our phone, deleting spam or surfing the internet. The advent of the smartphone becoming the world in our pocket is both a blessing and a curse. We must be very conscious of how we use this tool. Anytime we are distracted by it unconsciously, we are telling our children that something behind that screen has priority over them, and we are teaching them to focus on screens themselves. The other day, I was in a grocery store, phone in hand. I was actually looking up a recipe and confirming that the ingredients were in my basket, but to an outer eye, I was checking my email, texting, or tweeting. Focused on the screen of my phone, I was unaware that a woman with a toddler in her arms had come very close to me until I was startled by the shrill scream of her child. "Phone," he shrieked. "Give me the phone." I jumped back, assuming he was talking to his mother, when I realized that his tiny hand was stretched towards me. He wanted my phone badly. As I glanced at his mother for help, I saw that she was busy texting, ignoring the squirming in her arms and the crimson color rising in her son's face. "Phone," he wailed at the top of his lungs, and then began a screaming, crying tantrum. His frustrated mother tugged him away, still staring at her phone all the while. The look on her son's eye was crazed, and I saw in that moment the depths of obsession we have with our devices and how, no matter the age, the siren song of the screen is very hard to resist. Perhaps the crying child learned from his texting mother that a phone, above all else, was his first priority, his ideal companion, and perhaps his obsession was no different from anyone else's. It was simply raw and undisguised in his 2-year-old form. "I allow no video games in this house," says a friend of mine, "and my 10-year-old son is better off for it. Sure, he gets mad and begs. Yes, he plays games sometimes when he visits a friend's house, but I'm holding firm. And the fixation always passes. What scares me is seeing parents who indulge their kids with the latest and greatest video games, even playing them with them. They say it's a way to spend time together, but I can't imagine anything more separate. As soon as a kid is playing a video game, it's just him and Mario Kart. There's no one else in the world. It's okay to have fun, but it's really, really isolating activity. As parents, we must determine our household rules around these things. Some give a half-hour limit twice a day, maybe an hour twice a day on weekends. Others will let their children play with their phones or iPads when all else fails, and they're in desperate need to occupy their kids in a foolproof and immediate way. But for all of us, being thrown back on our own devices, and not the electronic kind, is the more creatively stimulating approach. Technology has its place, but the more of it that is available to us, the more we must be conscious of when and how we use it. An exercise. Devices off. take one entire evening and turn off all devices. This includes anything with a screen, cell phones, TV, computers, iPods. The only rule of the evening is that no screens are viewed. This may cause a great deal of resistance and anxiety, but if you can power through, the connection you will ultimately make with yourself and your family members will be deeper for it. The springboard of good health. When we are healthy and active physically, this affects our creative health as well. Nourished and satisfied, our focus improves. Strong and relaxed, we are more secure in our ideas. Physical empowerment helps us take risks in other areas of our lives. The common wish of health and happiness is quite literal. The two are often literally and spiritually intertwined. When it comes to our exercise and nutrition habits, two things are guaranteed. Our children will notice that we do what we do, and they will notice how we feel about what we do. If we are active and we enjoy being active, it is very likely that our children will emulate that. If we are healthy, meaning nutritionally and spiritually healthy, when it comes to choosing our food and activities, our children will learn from that too. As a basic rule, the healthiest people practice the healthiest moderation with regard to food. No birthday cake, ? No birthday cake or a vegan birthday cake? That sounds a bit harsh, especially to my Midwestern palate. On the other hand, sugary cereal every day for breakfast, that's probably not a wise choice. The point is that any extreme is likely to be rebelled against. And if we can teach our children a sane and natural attitude towards food, we will do them well. That being said, we must make our decisions based on individual reactions and needs of our children. As nutritionist Sarah Reba says, when it comes to nutritional needs, we are not all created equal. Some people react more or less strongly to sugar, dairy, or wheat. Some people thrive on running, while others need weight training to maintain a physical comfort level. Overall, a gentle balance of healthful food and the occasional treat and the cross-training athletic program will suffice for most of us. We can be inventive as we incorporate healthy habits into our lives and our children's. Elliot remembers his mother making a canned pear half bunny for an after-school snack, raisins for eyes, carrot sticks for ears, celery sticks for whiskers, and a small scoop of cottage cheese for a tail. Healthy and fun, it was also quick. It is easy to forget that healthy snacks don't have to take longer to prepare than unhealthy ones. Sometimes unhealthy eating is just a rut we fall into. Fast food is cheap and convenient. Attempting to make healthy habits fun may be just as simple as more consciously using our imaginations. Riding a stick horse is a fun form of exercise, as is playing with the dog or chasing one around the yard. Participating in physical games with our children sets a great example and provides a chance to bond with one another as well. But if we are inactive, our children may eventually emulate that too. Today we may sit at the playground watching them run around. Their weight is fine and they are energetic and strong. We, on the other hand, may be carting around extra 20 or 50 pounds that we'd rather not be encumbered with. If we do not take care of that, in the long run, our children are more likely than not to emulate what they have seen us do. Whether it is late night binging on ice cream or procrastinating, doing exercise, and if we have physical problems, chances are that they will develop them as well. A young mother in my class gained 40 pounds when she was pregnant with her twin daughters. Today, her daughters are 6 and beautiful, and she has gained 10 more pounds. I'm 50 pounds overweight now, she told me. I know that. I know why, too. I eat the same snacks my daughters eat. I'm tired, I don't exercise, I eat when I can't rest, and I gain weight. Now that it's been 6 years, I've started to get used to it. I've practically forgotten about my former wardrobe in the back of my closet. I'm used to wearing shapeless things, and I guess if I'm honest, I've sort of given up on myself in that way. I knew her struggles with weight were painful for her, and for her sake, as much as her daughter's. I hope she will be able to take steps towards a solution that might provide her with some relief. It was, however, her daughter, Joanna, who performed the necessary intervention. We were reading a book about leaders, and then we started talking about leadership. The mother relayed to me the next week at class and asked them who they thought were good leaders, what kind of leaders they'd like to be. Joanna looked at me and she said, "Mommy, you're not a good leader." I was shocked and hurt immediately. I was shocked, hurt, and immediately thought of all the things I do for my kids. I love them, I provide for them, I play with them, I encourage them. I asked her why she said that, and she said, "Because you are always talking about how you have to take better care of yourself and stop eating so much ice cream, but every day you still eat ice cream." The young mother's eyes filled with tears of determination. I joined a weight loss program that day, she told me. It's been 4 days now. I'm still in shock from hearing Joanna's words, and I deserve to be. She called my bluff. 6 years old, and she was right. Her story is not unique. And the good news is that her children will notice what she's doing now too. Focusing on positive exploration of what is healthy can be fun for the whole family. I take my kids to the local farm, says Rob, and let them pick tomatoes and eat them right there. They love how sweet they are, and they see where fresh vegetables come from. Of course, they love cake and ice cream too, but it's good to show them that healthy food can also be enjoyable. I just try to strike a balance. Oh, okay. I think we're gonna stop there. We are at almost 900 bars on GarageBand, and that is with no stoppage other than drinks. Thanks for listening, and we will jump back in next time. All right, thank you. Bye.